Hey guys, I'm Lisa Rui and we are the Untouchables group, and we are going to explain a little bit about the unknown hormone presentation. So to start off, here is a controlled data chart that we were given, and this just shows what certain glands looked like before the rat was actually given a certain hormone. So as you can see, like the thymus is at 295, the tibia width is at 350, the pituitary is at 5.2. Just, you can look at the chart a little bit and just see what the different glands looked like before the rat was actually tested on. And then here is our experimental data that we got. So basically after our rat was given the hormone, you could see that like the body weight gain is at 47, the thyroid is at 11.7, ovaries were at 35, and there were some changes, and here on the next slide I will show you the differences between them. So a couple of things that we noticed when we looked at this were the plasma FFA had a big increase. It had a huge increase actually. It went from 580 to 2270, so that was a huge increase, and that made us think that we had the hormone epinephrine. And then we also looked at the glucose tolerance test, and each half hour or each hour that the test was actually given, it had a really significant increase. Like when they first started, it was at 84, but then when we started with our rat, it was at 118. And then at the half hour mark, it went from 163 to 214. And then at the first hour, it was at 159, but then our rat ended up being at 219. And then the second hour, it was at 106. And then at the next hour, ours was at 161. And then the third hour, it went from 79 to 128. So as you can see, there was an increase there, and we just looked at some different hormones to kind of figure out which hormone the rat was given. So next, going back onto our glucose tolerance test, here is our chart just showing the difference between our controlled rat and our experimental. So in the orange, you can see is our controlled rat, and then in the blue is our experimental. So as you can see, our experimental rat, the glucose actually increased, but then it started to decrease like our controlled rat did, but the levels were still higher. So I mean, going from the beginning of the test to the first half hour mark, there was a huge increase in glucose. So, and then from the half hour mark to the hour mark, it kind of stayed constant a little bit. But then going from the first hour to the second hour, then there was a decrease, just like our controlled rat had a decrease, but the levels were still at a good amount. I mean, the levels definitely did increase, as you can see. But I mean, going from the first hour down to the third hour, then it started to decrease. So as I said earlier, based on our charts, we were able to come up with that there was a significant increase in the plasma FFA, and in the glucose tolerance test, there was a significant increase at each hour. And then there were really no significant changes that we saw in the sex glands.
All right, this is Philip. I'm a nursing RN2 BSN student, and I'm going to continue the presentation from here. Based on our data, the inconsistencies we found were the sex gland did not change, so it caused some inconsistency when looking over the possible hormones. And the thyroid gland, pituitary, thymus, and the adrenal glands had a slight change, but not too major. With the slight increase, it did cause some thought that it could be one of the other hormones. So we further collected data and then did a differential diagnosis. And with those data, this is what we found. The fact that the sex hormones did not really change, this helps us to rule out the sex hormones. And because the thyroid did not have much change. This also helped us to rule out the thyroxine and the TSH. And the pituitary did not have much significant change either, so we ruled out the ACTH and the somatostatin. But as we were looking through the data, we found we had the growth hormone also. Therefore, we narrowed the hormones down to these three: the glucocorticoid hormone, the growth hormone, and the epinephrine.
Hi guys, my name's Kayla. I'm a nursing student at Miami, and I'm going to be finishing up this presentation. So we went on to do our radioimmunoassay on blood plasma, and we decided to do the growth hormone when we tested it. So right here, obviously we found our results. The experimental data was actually lower than the control data, and basically that just means that there was not as much radioactivity going on. So obviously it wasn't growth hormone, so that kind of eliminated that for us. So at that point we had still the glucocorticoid and epinephrine. So the next thing we wanted to test for was the vital signs. So here we have the vital signs. It's just the control versus the experimental data here. Everything actually went up, but the ones that we were looking at were heart rate and body temperature, or sorry, blood pressure. And those two just kind of showed that it was epinephrine, so that, you know, those are interrelated. So, and then going down, pupils in the control data were normal and reactive, the behavior, normal sleep, wake patterns, and overall behavior. But then going to experimental, the pupils were dilated and somewhat reactive, behavior was reduced sleep, increased movement, searching behavior. So basically we kind of decided that our rats were having the fight or flight response, and that obviously is going to be epinephrine too. So that being said, our final results were epinephrine. So based on the different tests that we used, we came to the conclusion that we had the hormone epinephrine. So if you guys have any questions, just let us know, and otherwise thank you for watching our presentation.